Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
And guys, if you haven't, or even if you have, maybe double check. Make sure you are subscribed with the little bell that is clicked as we keep trying to put out this ground shaking activity that we see on the earth. Yes, we really do have a lot of ground shaking activity going on, and we have a lot of weird things going on. I mean, I've seen insects circling, lambs circling. Now here we have some wild turkeys circling. What's going on, guys? What's going on? You know, Cindy and I have been deep diving into Tartaria, and there is a connection between Tartaria and Atlantis, and there's also a connection to many other mythological, quote unquote, civilizations that do have a basis, in fact, in reality. And again, if we were to really understand reality as it truly is, these biological brains would probably overload.
We would have short outs because we're set with an understanding and we're left with that understanding. So if we open up too much, it would create somewhat of a circuit breaker issue.
But we are going to go in depth, and we are going to hammer home some things that we've learned in upcoming videos. And, you know, much of it is just a straight confirmation on what we've been giving you guys for 6 years. And here we have a 6.1 Dulce in Turkey here. This is basically pretty southeast of Istanbul, which used to be known as Constantinople. And we see this is the area south of the Black Sea, where we have up above it Ukraine. And of course, we have the conflict underway. As you can see, Donetsk over here, Kharkiv over here, Dnipro, Odessa. Oh, the world is in a key period right now. And there has been also a 4.5 aftershock there. Now, remember, we just were talking last night about over in Indonesia, and we were talking also about this over in Mexico off the coast of Baja California, this 6.2 with a 4.5. This was felt up in San Diego. We are creeping closer. Remember, too, now as I interrupt myself, excuse me. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. Go right ahead. This is part of our multi-dimensional tasking here. You know, we had the third highest ever recently earthquake in the state of Texas, you know, over in this area, which again is fracked to hell. You know, sorry about that word there, guys, but it's true. I mean, the fracking that's here is just insane. So, you know, we see small ones here. Those happen all the time. But we had a 5.7, I think, 5.7, 5.8. And again, was it really? We were looking at the heliplots and how they were shaking. And you got to wonder, you know, the Indonesia one that we were talking about, was that really a 7.0? Because the level of shaking it should be 8.5, really. This says 45 people at the moment. Now it's up to 68. Last time I looked, injured during severe shaking caused by this 6.1. I've seen it as a 5.9 in some places. But we had a lot of loss of life at that 5.6 we had this week. I mean, we've had a lot of activity in the last 7 days. And more than likely, there is more activity to come. And again, what we get is that this is not necessarily a natural occurrence. There are technologies in play that will blow people's minds. I want to reiterate that. There are technologies that will blow people's minds. We're not talking decades ahead of where you think we are. No, not decades, not even centuries. Way ahead. And as I'm saying this, I'm getting a strange ringing in my ear. I think one of the guides is saying, okay, hold on to some of that for later. As again, you know, these are dangerous times in more ways than one.
You know, we really need to kind of reel in our energies and make sure we're focused and grounded, because the earth can definitely read our energies. She reacts to our distress, and having ourselves grounded and focused is going to help her, because I don't think people understand how much of a team we are when it comes to working with Mother Earth. You know, every time we step on the ground with our positive and our negative energies, it's like a magnet. We are strengthening ourselves. So we strengthen each other when it comes to ourselves and the planet when we ground. This is very, very helpful. The natural way we can do things is still more powerful than the technology that they have put out there, but we have to discover it and we have to realize it and help each other when it comes to using it, because really we're like a bunch of little children who are kind of blind. You know, we're trying to feel our way around in the dark, but again, that's deliberate from the controllers.
You know, we were having a conversation with somebody, I think it was yesterday, and they were quoting the Matrix and saying they were re-looking at the Matrix, trying to analyze it with new eyes, knowing new information about our reality as we've been looking at some of the scenes from the Quake in Turkey. And by the way, Turkey is a place that would be on my bucket list, because as we were talking about Cappadocia and Derinkuyu and so many fascinating sites there that just, they're hiding the secrets of who we are. And it's not just Turkey. These secrets are also hidden in the sands of Pakistan and Afghanistan and, you know, some areas in India. Oh, you know, we are giving a history that the deeper we go into this, the more it's all just a complete illusion and fabrication. And yet we have to recognize that we are, again, behind enemy lines. History is written by the victors. The bad guys won. At least they had won this phase. And we're waking up, when we're born into this reality where they won't let you know, they won't knowingly let you know anything that's truly occurred. They want you to know their version of things. Anything that you grab onto that is mainstream is going to be absolute distortion. Absolute distortion, not even close to the reality. Not even close. Remember, you know, Java here, you know, we had a loss of life over in Java. And, you know, again, this is in the Ring of Fire. It's one of the most prone places on the planet. And, you know, these ancient civilizations that have come and gone, they're under our feet. They really are under our feet. And again, let's send prayers to everybody that has been lost in this recent series of quakes and their loved ones. Because, you know, they're not lost in reality. They're still there. They're just on a different wavelength, so to speak. And many of them are waking up to disorientation. This is what happens when something happens really fast. We don't understand it. We get disorientated. We're all of a sudden not in the body. We're used to being in the body. And all of a sudden it hits us like, what happened? What happened? Well, entire civilizations have been hit in a manner that's left millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions, maybe tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions, saying what happened.
You know, and that does cause like a shock wave. That causes an energy wave, which can create a lot of confusion in this realm that we are currently in.
An entire season of snow could be dumped on Texas Panhandle. Entire season. The Euro model's expecting 12 to 18 inches for a large part of the state's northernmost part over here by the Oklahoma-New Mexico border. Look at those models. This is massive, maybe as high as 24 inches in Amarillo. And boy, we've been through there many, many times. Yeah, it'd be an amazing sight to see 2 feet of snow on the desert out there. That almost makes me want to go take a road trip. Yeah, but this is what we're to expect, is to expect the unexpected in these times. Many people are waking up to all the illusions. And, one thing I want to share too is, if we think that we are looking at something today and we think, well, hey, any picture I see, it might be photoshopped. But what if you're looking at a photo from 1860, 1870, 1880? Could have been photoshopped back then too. Just, keep that in mind as we move forward. Drones over DC. Now remember, there were drones over the Phoenix, Arizona area that they couldn't identify over the nuclear power plant, the only nuclear power plant in Arizona, which unfortunately is to the west of Phoenix. And prevailing winds would usually bring anything that happened over there over Phoenix. And let's hope nothing happens as far as that goes. But there was swarms of drones that were seen over there that they never identified, whose drones they were. And then, of course, we had the quote-unquote military drones that were appearing in Nebraska and other areas over there that you got to wonder, what's the real story? And there's a lot of things going on that we're not getting the real story. But here we have drones over D.C., senators alarmed over potential Chinese spy threat. Lawmakers who were briefed on hundreds of intrusions over the White House, Capitol, and Pentagon worry about possible espionage. So hundreds of Chinese-manufactured drones have been detected in restricted airspace over D.C. in recent months. That should be very telling, because we're getting much, much closer to that, reddish dawn scenario that we've been talking about for 6 years. It's getting closer. There's still other stages that have to be done before they get to that point, but we're very close. And very close could still be a year or two, a couple of years, 2 or 3 out. It depends on how things go, because again, we're all co-creating this reality together. The recreational drones made by Chinese company DJI, which are designed with geofencing restrictions to keep them out of sensitive locations, are being manipulated by users with simple workarounds to fly over no-go zones around the nation's capital. Federal officials and drone industry experts have delivered classified briefings to Senate Homeland Security, Commerce, and Intelligence committees on the development. 3 people privy to the meeting said. Spokesperson for the Intelligence Committee, which has been kept closely apprised of the counterintelligence risks, declined to comment on the briefings. The other 2 committees did not respond. And by the way, including this in will get us demonized again, but it's at the point where basically we just view it as there is no monetary recomps from YT, because they have done their best to show us that they're displeased with what we talk about. But again, we'll keep moving forward, and we are on Brighteon and Bitchute and Rumble, and of course Patreon and Ko-Fi will find all the videos over there. So the officials say they do not believe the swarms are directed by the Chinese government, yet the violations by users mark a new turn in the proliferation of relatively cheap but increasingly sophisticated drones that can be used for recreation and commerce. They come as Congress debates extending current federal authorities and adopting new ones to track the aerial vehicles as potential security threats. And by the way, China is hoarding gold and buying up gold so it can completely divest itself of dollars. This is part of everything that's going on right now in that big switch of power, because it is a switch of power. And this power structure that's in place is just going to morph. It's not really going to change per se, at least as far as the controller's plans go. When we look at China and we look at the company, there again, you got to realize they are the model for what is wanted by these controllers on a global level. And they are, we might say that they're communists, but in reality, they are a merger of everything as far as economic goes. Everything is controlled by the state. Everything is controlled by the state. All these companies are directly controlled by the state, or indirectly, directly, if you know what I mean. Well, technically in writing, hey, you guys are free to do whatever you want. No, you can't do that.
And they should be watched. So this is definitely a concern, and it's also being somewhat put in the consciousness of us, getting us to understand, okay, there's these things that are going to be in the air, and you're not always going to know where they belong or who they're from, but just know they're going to be out there. So they're doing this for, it feels like, multi layers of purpose, probably once again to put in more laws when it comes to do with airspace, but they're also collecting information. So this is a conglomerate of yuckiness going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the title here is Drone Company DJI Obscured Ties to Chinese State Funding. Again, it's all controlled. It's all controlled. And they found 4 Chinese citizens at an Oklahoma, Mary J. farm that were, removed from their vehicles in this 3D realm, let's just say. Yeah, this is interesting. Again, there's been so many of these mass SHOOTINGSs, but this reeks of everything else we were just talking about. Don't forget, too, you have the FBI director very concerned of all these Chinese police stations in the U.S. How would you allow a police station of your biggest adversary, at least by appearances, to be opened in your country? That sounds like insanity to me. Does that not sound so counter-logical?
Well, they always throw out there these things that they're going to do, and they create the problem, and they get people begging for solutions. It's just, once you're awake, you can see the choreography, but that doesn't mean our emotions are not real, our concerns are not real. Everything that we're looking at and experiencing is definitely a concern, and we need to make steps to move forward and claim our own sovereignty so that we're not going to be under the influence of these energies.
Yes, and again, it just befuddles the masses to think that the U.S. would allow the Chinese government to set up hundreds of unauthorized police stations. Not just in the U.S., but, how about the Canadian authorities allowing it? How about Australia? This is because the system is moving to a new place. The system is moving to a new control center for appearances in which to operate out of. This is all just a setup, because you could see telegraphed the moves that they are making if you are awake. They've done this many, many times before. Sometimes we can't see what's obvious, and sometimes it does just pop out right there at us.
Isn't that the cutest little guy? If I were to be looking at my stove in the kitchen, I would love to see a baby goat pop his little head out and come up and wag his tail at me. That is so cute. That is so adorable. I wouldn't be so happy about a rat, but give me a goat.
And again, there's so much to share with you guys. And it will be upcoming relating to Tartaria, Atlantis, the lost civilizations that have been upon the planet, some realizations that we've had of a very personal nature, and some experiences that are traumatic. That, for instance, I've shared with you guys that now I understand why I had these scars, so to speak, of something that happened in a past life. And many people do. A lot of times the traumas that affect us that we can't seem to understand, and even if you've gone to all sorts of therapists and psychologists, and you still have this innate fear of whatever it is, water, heights, it could be a whole bunch of different things. It could be completely illogical things. It could be a fear of baby goats. It could be. I mean, that seems pretty illogical, but it could be there, and there could be a reason, and it might not be because of this particular life.
And so often when we finally understand why we feel the way we do, it's like breaking a spell, and you can take a deep breath, and you're like, okay, well, I can put that to rest now.
And this whole world is under a spell. Of course, there are those that have awakened from the spell, but the vast majority are still under the spell that these star controllers have set upon this globe. But we are awakening. Take heart in that. And these are the last days, so to speak, of the dark empire that has obstructed the light and is still trying to obstruct the light every single day with those funny little clouds. But they can't stop it. They can't stop it because we are awakening and their time is waning, and they know it.
Indeed.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.